What's cracking, everybody? There, Felrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Ultra League Premier Cup and 5 of my top teams, best teams to beat this meta and climb that elo. Now, real quick, going over some of these rankings, you'll notice that there are, as of course it's a Premier Cup, there are no legendaries or mythicals, but we have all the XLs allowed in this meta. So, you know, things like XL Steelix, Stunfisk, Scrafty, Pidgeot. Yeah, I could just run down the list here. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, this is an XL league. So if you're not necessarily prepared and you don't have a lot of the top picks, you may end up struggling. But there are a couple of these teams that I've picked out that are non-XL that you can do just fine in this league with, I think. So we're going to talk about this first team. Now, you could literally take the top team in Great League, and I'm just scrolling through the rankings for the sake of it here, but like, so you can just kind of see, you'll catch some stuff that's high up on the rankings. But if you take the number one, right, the number one team from Great League, and let's transpose it straight into Ultra League. This did not load it. It was supposed to stay loaded for me. What in the world is going on here? This is technical difficulties, folks. All right, so anyway, you can take a look at this here team. We've got, this is the Swampert double flyer team. We've got Noctowl. If you have an XL Noctowl, by now you might have one, a Hundo, a Lucky, and there's plenty of chances for us to have gotten Hoot over the past, you know, couple years. So if you have the XL Noctowl, otherwise you could try something like, you know, Snorlax, or you could try something akin to maybe like, maybe not Snorlax. It needs to be able to beat grass types essentially. So you could try like Mandibuzz, I guess. That would be a reasonable replacement for Noctowl. But Pidgeot, if you don't have one by now, hopefully you're working on one, because this thing is ridiculously busted now in Ultra League, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's so freaking good. But if you look at the rankings here, or not the rankings, the scorecard, we've essentially got a really strong core with the Swampert Shadow in this particular case. You could run it with non-Shadow if you like. And Pidgeot and Noctowl in the back. Noctowl is essentially acting as our safe swap here. You could also do it with Pidgeot. I think the Pidgeot's probably the better safe swap because it's got the debuff and buff moves. But either way, what you're looking to do is draw out that steal or that hard answer to the other flyer, and you'd be using Swampert to get energy and take that out, and then hopefully your other flyer sweeps in the back. So essentially like an ABB team. You know, you've Zionix put a video out on this, Yonkers has put a video out on this. There's probably not many people who haven't. And just like in Great League, Walrein is a core breaker, Alolan Ninetales is a core breaker to this team, and then you've got some things that kind of break the team in the front and back, which is going to be, you know, something like an Abomasnow, or, you know, Mandibuzz technically can outdo or outbulk. You've got Dragonite. There are some things that you're probably going to see, like Dragonite's probably the one that you're going to see a lot, but those are some Pokemon that can core break this team. But for the most part, the core breakers to this team, like everything on this team has play against something in the meta, so I think this is a really strong team if you've got the XLs for the backline. And like we said, we can substitute out Mandibuzz probably for the Noctowl. So let's crack into this next team here. This particular team is going to be the non-XL version team that I was talking about. It gets a C in coverage, C in bulk. It's not the best. Obviously, it's not XL heavy. But Walrein Trevenant core with a Charizard safe swap. I feel like Charizard is going to be a very good safe swap in this meta. There's not going to be a ton of people running things like Aurorus, right? Scrafty and Obstagoon are probably going to be out there, but honestly, the Trevenant does have some play against those two with the seed bombs and how spammy it is. And then Walrein obviously can hit just about anything in the meta with its Earthquake, Icicle Spear coverage. And Charizard's just so safe that you can literally nuke things from wherever you look. She's crawling around over there, just being goofy. So there are some things, obviously, that can beat this team, but like the other team we had previously, there's not a whole ton of them, and even against the things that core break the team, you know, Talonflame, you have plenty of play against that, especially if you're good with your move timing into the Incinerates. Aurorus is probably going to be the one thing that beats this whole team, but to be completely honest, I don't expect to see a ton of Aurorus in this meta, just because, one, accessibility, and two, because there are so many things in this meta. Shadow Machamp, Obstagoon, Scrafty, there's so many things that can beat just the absolute bejesus out of an Aurorus that it's probably not going to do too great. Then Miltank, Tentacruel, Greedent, Lapras, and that's really not a really popular set of Pokemon, so it's okay for those to kind of core break the team, and honestly break the team in general. Another Walrein, though, like if you hit a mirror Walrein lead, you kind of have to stay in for that. And then something like Obstagoon and Steelix, like those kinds of things, you do kind of have to force yourself to use the Charizard. So it is a bit more of a balanced team, right? You're just kind of using Charizard as a safe swap when you see a fighter or something that you don't like a champ. But overall, this team does look very strong if you're okay with balanced teams. Personally, I'm an ABB person myself. But as a balanced team, I mean, just Charizard is just a really strong safe swap, so you could do worse than this kind of team here. So next one up, we've got a bit of a spin on the team that I ran last season in Ultra Premier, where I featured Steelix. You can go check that video out a couple months ago. Just scroll through the channel. If I can remember to, I'll add like a link to it or something somewhere in this video. But if in case I forget to, there is a video on my channel about Steelix, and it's basically Dragon Double Steel. And now I ran it with a Como-O in the lead, but if you don't have one, because again, accessibility is a thing, Dragonite, Shadow Dragonite 2, both of those work fantastically well. This has a wide meta coverage. The Double Steel backline is ridiculously strong, and this team, like we say on the other ones, the core breakers that you're going to see are not too many. You're going to see something like Lapras, probably going to see a couple. Shadow Poliwrath, won't see too many of those. Piloswine, if you see one of those, I want to shoutcast that person's battles because that's super spicy and I love it. And then Runerigus, which is not super common, but you may see a few here and there because people did build them for Halloween Cup last season. But then you're going to get things like Walrein, and you're going to get things like Shadow Machamp, and, you know, there's not, well, Shadow Machamp doesn't core break because it gets beat by Dragonite, but no, Charizard, Ninetales, and Abomasnow, those are kind of risky picks because the Ninetales, the Alolan Ninetales, if it's running Powder Snow, does beat the Steelix and the Dragonite, but if it's running Charm, Steelix has a better chance against it, especially if you do decide to run Earthquake. I run Psychic Fangs and Crunch personally, but I think that your moveset, just depending on what you see, could be good. And when it comes to things like, you know, the Charizard, like everything on this team has ways to hit Charizard. So like, I'm not worried about Charizard, right? And then Walrein would be a worry, but you know, you can still safely swap in your Steelix into a Walrein. They're going to swap out regardless because they're going to try to keep switch. And if they decide to counter with like a Trevenant, then Steelix is going to pop off and flip switch for you. So Alolan Sandslash, not going to be very common here. Sneasler, probably also not going to be very common. And even then, I don't know how on Earth Sneasler beats Dragonite. It's probably just like Aerial Ace doing just enough damage after the Shadow Claws or something. It's ridiculous. Excadrill, you're not going to see a lot of those. And Primeape, you're definitely not going to see a lot of those. And again, Shadow Sandslash Gallade, you might see a couple, but not very many. And we're getting into Spice territory here. So yeah, team solid. It's good. Run it. And you will want to best buddy that G-Fisk because of the boost that it would get. So we got the next team here. This is going to be a slightly more interesting team. Now this one I picked out because if you're seeing a lot of Pidgeot Steel cores, or you know, Flyer Steel cores, like kind of like the team we talked about just now, Ufisk, Unova Stunfisk, is a very good core breaker to a Pidgeot or Flyer and a Steel Pokemon. So like things like, you know, in Open Ultra League, you're going to see Cobalion Pidgeot a lot. That's a good core breaker to this team. And a good thing to core with the Unova Stunfisk is Abomasnow. And we're using Ninetales on the safe swap. Yes, I know it has an F for coverage. This is more of a meta-specific team, right? This is not going to be a team that you're going to blast off day one and do well with unless a lot of people are running a team that has like Flyer lead or Steel lead and stuff that's weak to the ice in the back, right? There's not going to be a ton of teams like that, but if you're finding that in your particular ELO range that you're getting a lot of those types of teams, then this is a good line to run. However, I know that Ufisk is not exactly a priority build for anybody, and it's a full XL just like its compatriot Galarian Stunfisk. So if you have one, great. If you're looking to build one, maybe this is the place to do it. See how the meta shakes out. Or if you see a ton of these teams right away day one, go ahead. You know, Ufisk, even though it loses some of these matchups like to Galarian Stunfisk, probably because it tanks an Earthquake, still has play with those Mud Bombs. Same thing with Auroras, it still has play with the Mud Bombs, and Abomasnow can definitely hit it hard with an Energy Ball. And Energy Ball is, you know, obviously the move of choice on Abomasnow with Powder Snow and Weather Ball. And then for this Alolan Ninetales, we could run it with Charm if you want to. you're definitely looking to like draw out a poison for Ufisk or draw out a steel, right? Something that Ufisk can really handle, but you know, there are definitely some things that will core break this team. This one has a larger number than the other teams that we've done, because like I said, again, just to reiterate, this is not like a super strong meta team. This is going to be like an anti-meta team if you're seeing a lot of those flyer steel cores. But, you know, things like Auroras and Galarian Stunfisk, like those can core break this team, especially Galarian Stunfisk. You see that in the lead, you got to use Ufisk and get that out of there. But a lot of the things past, you know, G-Fisk and Auroras, Walrein, like after that you're talking about Snorlax, which is neutral into everything. Miltank, you know, Alolan Ninetales, or Alolan Sandslash, sorry, and Shadow Kanto Ninetales, that would be a problem. Apparently Shadow Kanto Ninetales can beat Ufisk, which is news to me. Probably just tanks Mud Bomb and then shields from there. But, you know, most of the things after that are spicy or not, you know, super hard core breakers to the team. And then you get something like we said, Walrein is another one of them. Alolan Ninetales against you is not so great. So these are just things that you just kind of have to play around and try to outdo your opponent with that. So let's talk about one last team here before we cut it for the day here. And this is a team that goes back to the roots of the Dark Poison cores. And honestly, I don't mind this team. Again, this is going to be a little bit more of a meta-specific team because you have Dragalge and you have Tentacruel. Those are very, like, you know, they're not super wide coverage sort of Pokemon, but the nice thing about Tentacruel is you can adjust the moveset if you're seeing, you know, things that get nuked by Blizzard, or you could run it with Acid Spray. In this particular case, we're running it with Sludge Wave and Scald, and then you could run your Dragalge with either Outrage or Gunk Shot, but you definitely want the Aqua Tail. And the whole point of this team is to be ABB against Charizard, because Charizard is going to be out there. It's got the boosted wing attack buff. It's going to be good, so by having that, you're going to lose to some things in the lead that are anti-fighter, naturally. But, you know, Pidgeot is a problem, but the backline is neutral to it, so Scrafty really isn't going to be out of its depth there. You can still safe swap into one of these two. The Shadow Gliscor, though, and the regular Gliscor, that's the really big core breaker. Now, the nice thing is that both of these Pokemon have ways to fight back against the Gliscor, being that Tentacruel has Scald and Dragalge has Aqua Tail, but that's not going to be enough to tank an Earthquake, unfortunately. So, Skarmory is another XL that you may see quite a few of that this team does not handle very well. So if you see one, good luck. You won't see very many, but if you do, I can't help you. I'm sorry, this team is not equipped to handle Skarmory. And then we've got Altaria, and then you've got Nidoqueen. Like, Nidoqueen only really wins here if it can land Earth Powers against the backline, and it just beats Scrafty straight up. But aside from that, like, the cores are solid, and so you're not going to see a whole lot of things that beat it. Toxicroak could do it, Como could do it, but this is in shielding scenarios, right? So, like, overall, I think you could two-shield Scrafty through a lot of things and then just hope that the backline works out too. So, but those are some really strong teams that we've got for the upcoming Ultra Premier Cup. I know that the Cup is very XL heavy, and hopefully by now you've got a reasonable amount of XLs that you can use. But again, a couple of these teams were non-XL, so good luck this week in the Ultra Premier Cup. Let me know in the comments how it's going. If you want, you can definitely hit me up on Patreon. We have a Discord access, or Discord community on the Patreon link that you can hit up, and this is going to get you access to those meta-analysis, all these teams and everything else before it even hits YouTube, and you can be ready weeks, maybe even months ahead of time, depending on the cups. And if you're looking for coaching, I specialize in Ultra League metas, so if you are looking to get some good coaching in Ultra League, you can hit me up on Metafy, link in the description for that. And that is going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.